Okay, so in this video we're going to install Android x86 using qemu, kvm and Virgil for better graphics performance. So I'm using an NVIDIA graphics card with NVIDIA proprietary drivers, and the operating system I'm using is Ubuntu 18.04. But you should be able to follow along using the distro of your choice with a few modifications. So before we get into this, there are a few things that you need to do. The first of which is enable virtualization within your BIOS or UEFI. So if you're unsure how to do this, have a look at your motherboard manual or go to the manufacturer's website for your computer and find out how to do it from there. So the final thing is that this only works on Linux-based operating systems. So if you're using Windows 10, I'm sorry, but this won't work for you. So let's start by installing the dependencies that we're going to need. So open up a terminal and I'll just paste in the dependencies that we need. So this is what we need to install, and all of this will be in the description below, so you can just copy and paste. So let's install these. So for Fedora users, these packages usually have -devel instead of -dev at the end. So that should work for you. So the next thing that we need to do is download the source code for qemu, as we're going to compile it from source with support for Virgil. So the link for that is in the description below. So just open up a web browser and paste the link into the address bar and hit enter. So once that's finished downloading, what we're going to do is click on it to extract it. And I'm going to extract this directory to my desktop. So I'm just going to highlight it, click extract, and let's just extract it to my desktop. You can extract it to wherever you want, but just for this demo, I'm going to extract it there. Okay, so once it's finished extracting, we're just going to close this, and we're going to close the web browser because we don't need that anymore. And now we're just going to use the terminal to navigate to where we extracted our qemu source code. So for me, it was on my desktop, so I'm just going to cd there. And it was qemu-3.1.1.1. So we're going to start by creating a new directory here. So let's just call it build. So mkdir, and we're calling our directory build. And we want to change directory into that, so cd build. So now we need to configure our build of qemu before we actually build it. So again, down in the description, there's a line that you need to copy, and this is it. So just copy that line into your terminal and hit enter. And if everything went as planned, you'll have output that looks like this. And if you just scroll up, you'll see that we actually do have support for Virgil. And let's have a look. There it is. So we have Virgil support enabled, and the version that we're using is 0.6.0. So let's just scroll down now. So now that we've configured our build of qemu, the next thing that we need to do is actually build it. And to do that, all we have to do is type in make and hit enter. So this process will take a few minutes, and I'll just come back when it's done. Okay, so we now have a fully compiled version of qemu with Virgil support built in. So if we just ls, you can see that our build directory is now no longer empty. So let's just do a quick recap of what we actually have so far. So we've installed the dependencies that we need. We have built our version, our customized version of qemu with Virgil support. So you can think of that as our computer, but our computer actually doesn't have a hard disk in it yet. And with qemu, there's another tool that we need. So we're going to install that now. So what we want to do is just type in sudo apt install, and the tool that we need is called qemu-img. Enter your password. That is the name of the tool, but the package that we need to install to get that tool is named something different. So let's just correct that. So that's sudo apt install, and the package that we need to install is qemu-utils. So just quickly to test to see if this works, all you have to do is type in qemu-img, hit enter, and you'll get this error message saying not enough arguments. So basically we have qemu-img, and it's responding saying we didn't provide any arguments. So that's all good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make a disk using this tool. So you want to type in qemu-img, and what we want to do is create. And now we need to give it the format that we want to create this disk in. So -f, and we're going to use qcal2. And the next thing that we need to enter is the path to the disk that we want to create. So I'm actually just going to create it here. So we just need to give it a name. So let's call it Android with a capital A, android9.img. And the final thing that we need to enter is how big do we want to make this disk? So for me, I'm going to make it 12 gigabytes. So I can do that by just typing in 12 capital G, and that's it. So if we just hit enter, we now have our formatted blank 12 gigabyte disk for us to install Android onto. So if we just type in ls-ltr, the item at the bottom of the list is our virtual hard disk. So this virtual hard disk that we have just created doesn't actually have to live in this directory. We can move it around into any other directory, just like any other file, but I'm just putting it in here just for this demonstration. Okay, so now we have our virtual hard disk ready. We have QEMU with Virgil support ready. There's one thing that we need to do, and that is add our user to the KVM group. So to do that, just type in sudo add user and your username. So for me, it is Linux Leech. And the group that we want to be added to, so KVM. Hit enter, and that's done. But QEMU still won't work for us. There's a couple of other little things that we need to do. So the next thing that we're going to do is chmod. So we're going to change the mode bits on a file. So space 666 space /dev/kvm. So we're just changing the permissions on this device, this KVM device. So hit enter and you'll get permission denied. So we need to type sudo for that. So sudo space and then 2 exclamation marks will apply sudo to the previous command. So it's exactly the same as typing in the previous command again with sudo in front. Hit enter and that's done. So you can see what ran here. So that will fix an issue that we would have had for this boot, but in subsequent boots, so when we turn off our computer and turn it back on, we will still get an error message from QEMU basically saying it can't use KVM. It doesn't have permissions to use it. So to fix this issue, all we need to do is create a udev rule file. So to do that, all we're going to do is type in vi space /lib/udev/99-kvm.rules and hit enter. So we're creating a file within this directory. So our file is called 99-kvm.rules. So hit I on your keyboard to insert text. And what we're going to type in is all in caps for the beginning bit. So kernel equals, and then in double quotes and lowercase, kvm, and then comma, and now in caps as well. So group equals, double quotes again, kvm, comma, space, mode, all in caps, equals, double quotes, 0666. And once you've written that, press escape on your keyboard and colon, and we're just going to hit X to write and quit out of vi. And we get this error saying cannot open file for writing. So in order to write this file, we need to be root. So I'm just going to hit enter again. So to get out of this, do colon Q exclamation mark. And what we want to do is run our previous command with root privileges. So sudo and then space 2 exclamation marks, hit enter. And then to type text in, press I on your keyboard and you'll get this insert message here. And then just type this line in exactly as you see it on screen. I'll also put this in the description. And once you've done that, press escape on your keyboard, colon X, and that's a lowercase x. Hit enter, and that file has now been created. So now that that's all done, we've got a functioning version of qemu, we have a blank hard disk ready, all we need is something to install. So open up a web browser again and let's download a copy of Android x86. So just copy the download link from the description, put it in your address bar and go to this address. Now we just need to select a mirror to download Android x86 from. So I'm going to select OSDN and you want to scroll down. And what we're looking for is Android x86. So click this here, scroll down, and we're looking for release 9.0. And the version that we're going to download is this one here. So it's Android x86_64-9.0-r2.iso. So click on this link and wait for the download to happen. Okay, so once your download has completed, I'm just going to click show in folder to navigate to the directory where it's downloaded to. So it's in my downloads here. And now we are definitely finished with the web browser, so we can close that. So get rid of that. So what we're going to do, just to simplify things, is I'm going to copy this file into my build directory. So in fact, I'm just going to cut it, go to my desktop, qemu.3.1.1.1, and look for my build directory. So it's up here, and I'm just going to paste it in here. This is literally just to make this demo easier to do. Okay, so now that that is done, we're actually going to start up our virtual machine. So go back to your terminal, type in ls-ltr, hit enter, and you can see that our ISO file is here as well as our virtual hard disk. So now it's time to actually run our virtual machine. So just copy and paste this line from the description. Once you've copied and pasted this, you can just hit enter. And now we're at the Android boot screen. So I'm just going to use the cursor keys just to go down to advanced options. So we're actually going to install Android now. So we want an auto installation, hit enter. And yes, we want to confirm this. So just use your cursor keys, hit enter, and wait for it to install. And once you get this message on the screen, you've actually installed Android x86. So let's just reboot it. Hit enter and enter again. And what we're going to do is we're just going to close this window. So just get rid of it because we need to modify this line that we used before. So instead of booting from the CD-ROM now, as we have Android installed, we want to just boot from the hard disk. So we can do that by changing just one option, which is the boot option up here. And instead of that being a D, we just change that to a C. That's basically telling qemu that we want to boot from our virtual machine's hard disk instead of the CD-ROM. But let's also remove this CD-ROM line because we don't need this anymore. And for you guys, you can just copy that line from the description. So that's all done now. So now what we're doing is we're just booting up our virtual machine. So if you've ever set up an Android phone or tablet, this is exactly the same process. You've got the welcome to Google forms that you need to fill out and boxes you need to tick. So I'm just going to run through that really quickly because it's quite boring. So we're now on our boot screen. So you can just use your cursor keys to navigate this. We want the top option, hit enter, and we're now booting into Android. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is select our language. So click on this, select your language. English US is fine for me, so click start. And click on see all Wi-Fi networks. And we want to connect to Vert Wi-Fi, so just click on that. Wait for it to connect, and it's connected. And then just wait for Android to check for updates. Okay, so for this virtual machine, I don't want to copy anything from my Google account, so I'm going to click Don't Copy. And now I'm just going to sign in with my Google account off camera, so I'll come back when I've done that. And now I'm just going to agree to Google's terms of service, so click Agree. Set the time and date if needed. This all looks fine. And now I'm just going to not back up to my Google Drive because this is a throwaway VM for me. Don't use location services, and no, I don't want to send diagnostic data to Google. So click accept, and I'm not going to enter a PIN or password for this VM, so not now, and skip anyway. And for this, I'm just going to click no thanks. Okay, so do I want to set up Google Pay on this? Just hold down your left cursor key and drag this up, and then just click skip, and no thanks to the last option. Okay, so now that we're in Android, I'm just going to select QuickStep as my home app and just click just once. And we want to test to see if Virgil is actually working correctly. So I'm just going to bring up the app drawer. So I just had to reboot this VM as it kind of goes a bit crazy while I'm screen recording for some weird reason, but it's all fine now. So what we want to do is check to make sure that Virgil is actually running in this VM. So you want to swipe up on the app drawer. You want to click on terminal emulator, and you just want to type in dmessage, and we want to pipe the output into grep, and we're looking for Virgil, so Virgl, hit enter. And if Virgil is running correctly within your VM, you'll get this output. So it will say Virgil 3D acceleration is enabled. So let's just get rid of this. So we've now got our virtual machine running with Virgil support, and this is very capable of playing games. I'll upload those in some other videos just to do some demos. But there's a couple of things that I just want to go over really quickly. So I'm just going to close this. I'm not going to bother shutting it down. So in order to run this virtual machine again, all you need to do is make sure that you're in this build directory, and you want to enter this line. So just copy and paste this line in, and it will boot up your virtual machine. And that's basically it. That's how you can get Android x86 running with QEMU with Virgil support for better graphics performance. And as this video is probably going to be quite long, I'll upload game footage into some other videos. So I hope you found this useful. If you did, don't forget to subscribe, and thanks for watching. Goodbye.